So I shipped my app Tabfair, and if I had to do it again, I'd do it a lot differently. And not because it failed, although I wouldn't quite call it a smashing success, but just more about what I learned along the way, right? So, I want to talk through just to mentalize, what I'd change if I started all over again, if I had to do this back from zero, what I plan on implementing for future changes for the next app that I release. Just kind of show you some of the things that would make life a lot easier were I to do it again, when I do it again, I should say. So this is very much, I'm at the finish line and I'm looking backwards. One of the things that I would say is that I jumped in too fast, right? So one of the things that I did is I got to a loose point of what I thought I wanted as an application, and I just started iterating, right? I didn't really fully define everything yet. So the first thing that I would change is have clear articulation for what was included, what was not, included in the app. The parameters. I need to do a better job of setting very clear parameters for what the project was going to entail. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, a little bit around that is that iteration is great, but at certain points you're going to hit a point, at least with Lovable, that you're going to be paying for money to do that iteration because it burns through your credits. So know when to switch tools would be one of my big pieces of learning to the next one. So basically, jumping right in without clear design. The other thing is that iteration fatigue was very real for me. It was just ad nauseum, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Take a step, right? I should have just taken more pauses to step backwards and say, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? Let me think this through. What's the next screen look like? What's the rounding supposed to be? What happens if it's custom versus even split? How would people typically use this, right? And actually have some bona fide test cases that I should have gone through. That was, I feel, a big miss on my part because it meant that I just built a parachute, as the plane was going down, as they say. So definitely give a little bit more foresight into what's going on. And then, shipping things definitely helped make things a lot more clear for me. It was when I got into the live world, I started experimenting with the app, started getting feedback from a couple of my testers, and that allowed me to better change things and adapt things to real world use. But again, it came down to just iteration after iteration. So the weird thing for me is that, when I went through Lovable, there's a lot of iteration, an immense amount of iteration. And so what I did towards the end was I asked Lovable, hey, now that we're kind of done, can you show me what the prompt is? So again, I asked Lovable, if I were doing this again, what would the prompt be for you to make this app all over again? So if you want this prompt, by all means, I will gladly send it to you. Just comment, let me know how I can get it to you. It's fine. My inkling, based on what I've learned, is that even if I were to give you this exact prompt, you're not going to get the same result. And that is one of the biggest lessons that I learned through AI, is that the generation, even if you give the same prompt, can end up with something completely different. I found this to be a lot more true of the generative AI around imaging and video, but also true of Lovable. And one of the other things that I realized, it wasn't until I was speaking with an actual developer, we were just having a chat about this, because he was like, hey, tell me more about this. And I said, the weird thing is you tell it what to do and it does what you ask it literally. That's the big thing for me, is everything is a literal interpretation of what you're telling it. And he says, oh yeah, developers on my team all the time do the same thing. You ask for a particular feature, they develop exactly that feature. There isn't a bigger picture context. And that was one of the other things too, is learning about how you need to really give that information. But when I look at this prompt, I kind of get a little bit sad, because it basically broke hours and hours and weeks of work into 3 small paragraphs, right? I mean, it might be 6 sentences here, which, it looks super easy at the end result. But again, it's finish line looking back. It's looking at everything in hindsight. And as they say, hindsight is 20/20. That's one of the things. So if you wanted to get this prompt, just by all means, let me know. It's not, my app, I'll show you, is not, it's not exactly growing crazy, right? I mean, these are my stats. These are my actual stats as of January 31st. So at the time of this recording, you can see this here. Not what I would call a banner application. So your mileage obviously will vary. My audience maybe will grow. Who knows? Maybe I'll think about advertising. But, the big point here is that what I did was, as I took weeks of work and I said, hey, Lovable, why don't you just tell me what I should have said to begin with? And again, this is what you end up with. It's 3 paragraphs, right? And that's all that it is. So the lie of simplicity for me is that the prompts right here look super clean, but it's really the polish on all the work that got done to get to this point. What it doesn't really show is all of the edge cases. What it doesn't show is the intricacies of the workflow, right? If you copied this, I'm pretty sure you're still going to hit the same walls. In fact, let me know if you do want this and you do run through Lovable. I'd love to test your app. The other thing is that, for me, it came down that AI doesn't remove the work. It just moved it to different areas. So I couldn't code it the same way that AI did, right? The AI base definitely did a lot of the code better. But instead of spending work, taking time to build out the actual code, I had to basically herd cats, right? It was like pushing rope a little bit in terms of the iterations that I had to go through and really being specific. Again, some of that could have been done proactively, and I should have actually planned out more of what I expected so I could be more articulate in my prompting and make sure that I addressed, issues that could arise from that, like the size of a text box, where the toast message popped up, the font choice, where I want the logo, what does it look like when someone adds a contact, then overwrites them? What happens if somebody adds a contact, then tries to add them a second time? These are all things that you could do in advance to make sure that you prompt for. So just keep that out. Keep that out in front of your mind if you ever decide to go down this path. That, again, looking at this, very, very simplistic. And that's, I think, part of it is that AI and AI tooling, it gives you this idea of, I'll just go and prompt 2 or 3 things and magic is going to happen. And that's just not my reality. I don't think that's reality as a whole. I don't think this is a me problem. I'm not suggesting that I'm not partial to the problem or part of the problem. But yeah, I mean, if I had to do it all again, I'd make sure that, first and foremost, number one, don't jump into code. Do some thought, really think through what you want the end result to be, how people would actually use it, and then account for that. Piece 2 would be around the iteration. Know when to give up with the Lovable prompting and to, kind of take a step back, go back to the drawing board, think things through a little bit more, and maybe use a different tool, or even just bounce ideas off actual humans, believe it or not, they exist, and go through and do that. The third thing that I would say is that no matter how much preparation you go into it, you're going to encounter things when it goes live. After you click publish, things might change. You might get feedback. You might get stuff about a currency that's not working right that you're not going to test. Because point blank, you're probably not going to end-to-end test every iteration of anything that could happen within your app. And it's not until other people use it that that's really going to become prevalent. And then I would also say that, it's easy to use AI to build things, but it's an art form to actually tell AI what to build. So just keep that in mind. So again, one of the things I just want to outline is that as we continue to go through this, together, this entire journey, next thing I'm going to do is go and find out what I'm going to do in terms of the next app. I'm going to apply that. That'll be in the next video. you can see that even after I did all that, some of the math wasn't wrong. Some of the math wasn't right. It was wrong. So, there was a difference between when it took even split rounding versus custom split rounding. And so if I switch back and forth between, again, that's not going to be something that, until pro. But, it is what it is for right now. And so we'll keep going. But again, the idea is that you can get into it and do it. Just learn from my mistakes if you're going to do this, and just plan things out a little bit better. Know which tools to use for what things. Graphics, I would not use Lovable to do. Maybe not even Chat GPT. I found that was the one, Gemini from Google, the Nano Banana one there. That actually makes some pretty awesome graphics pretty easily. Canva for the graphics manipulation. But also plan out. And in terms of some of that stuff, I do just want to call out again, the idea of, like, I used Beta Circle, I used App Hive. Have a plan for your testing. That was the other big thing for me, is make sure that when you get to close testing, you have a good solid plan. So maybe do some warm up to your friends lists, maybe talk about it publicly if you have a channel or a podcast, or if you're in Reddit channels, go through and just do some of that thing. Some of those things, rather. I can speak English. It's been a long day. But anyway, that's just what I found out in terms of things I need to change for the next app. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and hopefully you'll follow along as I continue to go through the next app.